The moment the curtain of eternity is drawn aside, the profound blast of an unseen horn reverberates across the vast expanse of the heavens, and the clouds fracture beneath the weight of a light blazing like live coal. Far away on a craggy shoreline washed by the restless waters of the Aegean Sea, an old man keeps watch alone, standing at the frontier between time and infinity. He is John, the son of thunder, enwrapped in visions that tear through the veil of reality, and his words rise like sparks from a sacred fire, proclaiming the end of one world and the birth of another. The universe breathes behind his sentences, and each breath draws nearer the unshakable mystery of the apocalypse. Beneath a golden sky, at the crossroads of hope and dread, our journey begins through this colossal and disquieting work, an arch across the ages that gathers together human fears and divine promises. From the very first tremor of the tale, the rays of the sun burn in a blood-red glow, and the earth seems to tremble at the summons of a force that knows no limits. A cascade of images swells in scope, stars falling like burning torches, winds colliding with cliffs beyond the horizon, invisible bells announcing the opening of the heavens. The observer feels time dilate and contract like the waves, carrying echoes of angelic trumpets, terrible thunderclaps, and songs of victory. This atmosphere, charged with awe, is more than scenery. It is the prelude to a revelation in which every sound, flash or whisper contains a dizzying spiral of meanings about origin, downfall, and rebirth. In a single frame, countless storylines intertwine, and the promise of a final judgment, far from being a sterile threat, resounds as an invitation to ascent and purification. Yet, to grasp the tumult of the heavens, we must first descend into history, where the seeds of this vision were planted. We stand at the end of the 1st century after Christ, in a Mediterranean world where great powers contend through laws, legions, and deities. Rome stretches its imperial wings over provinces quivering with resentment, and the communities of Christians, raised from the ashes of hope in a crucified Messiah, live under the unceasing fear of persecution. Exiled on the island of Patmos, John receives the revelation not as an escape, but as an answer to the sufferings of his brethren, a cosmic poem through which a frail people rise before the divine throne, calling forth a justice that transcends any earthly emperor. In those days, apocalyptic language was both familiar and incendiary. The Jewish people still read the scrolls of Daniel, where colossal beasts and insolent horns foretold the fall of oppressive kings. The Greeks retained memories of Titanomachus, while the Phoenicians told stories of sea serpents devouring suns. John gathers these motifs, yet melts them into a staggering synthesis, reorchestrated around the emerald throne and the jasper rainbow that encircles the supreme being. In the fusion of traditions and hopes, the apocalypse emerges as a literary, prophetic, and revolutionary writing, reflecting the social tensions of an empire at its zenith, yet haunted by the dread of decline. Thus prepared, we step into the gallery of visions, where the seals of heaven lie sealed upon a scroll as white as snow. A mighty angel asks who is worthy to break these seals, and the heavy silence of the cosmos is shattered only when a lamb, slain yet alive, advances with fiery grace. The first seal cracks, and from the depths of calling emerges a rider upon a white steed bearing a bow of conquest. Yet his peace is deceitful, for triumph gained too swiftly often turns into tyranny. Multitudes feel the fascination of absolute power, and the echo of weapons drowns the humble voices of justice. The second seal falls, and the altar of destiny releases a rider wielding a sword as red as a blaze. It is war, with its muffled drums and campfires that illuminate the night sky. Brother raises hand against brother, cities quiver beneath the blade of conflict, and rivers are clouded with the blood of the fallen. In this uproar, despair and heroism embrace, leaving behind a landscape of mourning and social collapse. When the third seal is broken, from the cosmic threshing floor rises a rider clothed in black, holding scales. In the marketplace, wheat and barley become as precious as sapphire, and famine breaks chains of solidarity. Bells tremble over deserted lands, and people gaze toward the heavens with empty eyes, seeking the rain that no longer comes. In the shadow of this rider, grain becomes the emblem of life's fragility, and every kernel bears the weight of a whole people's hope. The fourth seal shatters, and from the smoke appears a horse of sickly yellow, ridden by death herself. Her cold shadow descends over fields, prisons and palaces, sparing neither rank nor virtue. Plague, destitution, and the savagery of beasts accompany the relentless march, and the echo of the funeral bell weaves with cries of prayer and curse. Confronted with this image, spectators sense that any wall, no matter how thick, is a mere spider's web before the brevity of the human condition. At the breaking of the fifth seal, the scene shifts beneath the heavenly altar, where the souls of martyrs plead for justice. Their cries are not simple laments, but a choir calling for judgment, inviting every onlooker to contemplate the price of truth. Their white robes, bestowed by the Almighty, shimmer like angels, and the hush before the storm deepens. The sixth seal arrives with a staggering earthquake. The sun clothes itself in black sackcloth, the moon turns blood red toward the earth, and the stars fall like late figs from a tree shaken by a gale. Mountains melt into the heart of the earth. Islands sink, and kings, slaves, and soldiers hide in caves, imploring the rocks to fall upon them. Every heart beats in unison with the terror of a universe uprooting its foundations. At last, after a silence that seems to suspend the breath of the cosmos, the seventh seal opens. 7 angels raise 7 trumpets, heralding additional judgments, lightning, thunder, and profound revelations. Yet the final vision transcends the chaos, revealing a heavenly Jerusalem descending from on high, illuminated by divine glory, with gates of pearl and streets of pure gold, like crystal. Tears are wiped away, and death disappears, as though the prior dread were merely the prelude to a more generous dawn. In waves of song, the renewed earth breathes again, and the promise of an eternal covenant brightens every countenance. Beyond the dramatic unfolding, the apocalypse is suffused with symbols that function as distorting mirrors, reflecting the moral obsessions of each generation. The riders are not simple, fantastic figures. They embody pride, violence, poverty, and mortality. The beasts with many horns and crowns speak of material tyranny, and the purifying flames of the lake of fire warn of the consequences of inner corruption. At the same time, angelic hosts show the path of solidarity, and the martyrs become the measure of ethical courage. Every color, every sound, and every gesture invests the audience with the responsibility to discern between power that destroys and power that heals. In other civilizations, similar echoes glimmer like sparks on a shared sky of anxiety and hope. In the frozen north, Scandinavian skalds describe Ragnarok, where a colossal wolf devours the sun and the gods fall so that a new world might rise from the waves. Upon the plains of India, tales are told of Kalki, the final avatar who banishes the darkness of Kali Yuga and restores Dharma. In Mayan myths, the end of a Baktun opens onto a new cosmic cycle, and in Islamic tradition, the day of resurrection brings the ultimate balance between mercy and justice. Each vision colors the same canvas of ending with its own hues, yet the red thread remains the human need to give meaning to loss and to believe in rebirth after ruin. When the narrative flows into the present, the impact of the apocalypse is visible everywhere beyond the walls of sanctuaries. Renaissance painters such as Albrecht Dürer engrave the scenes of the seals with deep lines, turning parchment into the flash of a fevered dream. Writers from the 19th century to our contemporaries rewrite the theme of the end in novels, graphic novellas, and cinematic scripts. Directors employ images of desolate cities or rent skies to explore atomic fear or ecological dilemmas. In video games, players traverse apocalyptic fields strewn with shattered monoliths, carrying at each step the echo of John's narrative, even when the weapons are modern and the enemies, formed of pixels, adopt multicolored forms. Scientists, when speaking of mass extinctions or cosmological scenarios, often resort to apocalyptic language to convey to the broader public the gravity of their discoveries. Thus, the ancient vision continues to pulse, reconfigured in every epoch according to its own anxieties. Neither are scholarly voices absent. Theologians, historians, and sociologists, weaving hermeneutics and anthropology, reflect upon the meaning of these images. Are they a political warning, an expression of collective trauma, a perennial prophecy, or perhaps a myth intended to ennoble suffering with narrative value? The contemporary spectator listens to these debates as to a polyphonic choir in which each voice adds a note of gravity or hope. In universities, seminaries, or at the edge of the digital forum, the apocalypse retains its magnetism, inviting reflection upon the planet's fragility and the ethics of progress. Yet beyond the refinement of analysis remains the unassailable force of story. When the lights go out and the last ribbon of smoke hovering above ruins dissipates, the eye of the mind still beholds the radiant city, a symbol of destiny that surpasses death. In the final vibration of the heavenly trumpets is hidden a promise that cynicism cannot conquer. It is the summons to moral vigilance, to solidarity, and to hope. If war, famine, and death may dwell in the human heart, there too may sprout the living wing of love that triumphs over time. Thus, our journey through seal, cataclysm, and triumph draws near its conclusion. We have crossed the sands of the first Christian age, quaked beneath the wrathful shadows of the riders, received into our senses the bitter perfume of cosmic smoke and the delicate light of the golden city. We have gazed into the mirror extended by the centuries and read in it our own questions about destiny and hope. Perhaps no collapse is definitive, and no judgment arrives without the chance to be reborn. From ashes there always rises a spark, and from that spark, a daring song of the future. For that reason, when the imaginary closing credits rise, the vibration of a thought remains. Every ending is a gateway to a vaster beginning. The vision of the seven seals and the Last Judgment is not merely a code of terror, but also a map of transformation. Upon it are traced the lines of an everlasting call, in which courage, compassion, and responsibility serve at the hearth of a hope that cannot be extinguished. Viewers, halted for a moment in the whirlwind of daily life, are invited to step beyond fear, to embrace wonder, and to ponder their own inner apocalypse. The end of the blind ego, the birth of lucid solidarity, new roads among the ruins of old certainties. Thus the circle closes, and with it a question opens. If at the edge of time there is a song of gold, and if after every collapse a banner of light still flutters, what do we choose today to preserve, and what do we consign to the purifying fire? The answer waits in the silence between heartbeats, where every being meets its own heavenly Jerusalem. In the web of that silence hides, perhaps, the true secret of the apocalypse, not the end of the world, but the endless beginning of renewal.